The town of Gray Hollow had long looked doomed. The old factories that once fed the town now stood like monolithic monuments to decay. Not a single light shone in the windows. Houses with creaking porches smelled of dampness and old smoke. When I returned here after 10 years, it felt strange to see that nothing had changed. Maybe that was the scariest part. The town was frozen, not moving forward, as if suffocating in silence. The letter I had received lay in my jacket. I had reread it 20 times. They're waking again. Fairchild Factory needs you. You know how to stop them. I didn't know. But something pulled me there, as if this letter was only a pretext. As if something was waiting. The gates of the Fairchild Toys factory stood half open, as if someone had entered recently. Inside it was dark, smelling of dampness and something sweet, like old children's plastic melting under the sun. Each of my steps echoed dully and unpleasantly. Where there once had been a workshop sewing plush teddy bears, now lay parts. Arms from dolls, torn pieces of fabric, button eyes, wooden fragments, metal joints. But they weren't scattered chaotically. They were arranged in patterns and shapes as if someone was laying out schematics. When I bent down, I noticed something even more disturbing. Some of the pieces were moving, a little, as if breathing. I started moving further when I suddenly heard a sound. Click, click, click. Slow, intermittent clicking like someone assembling furniture. I hid behind a shelf and saw them for the first time. 3 of them, different heights. They looked like bears, but not the ones that had once been made here. The first, the fabric one. Legs sewn from different materials. Denim, plush, leather. Arms from children's sweaters, but sharp needles hidden in the fingers. Eyes, buttons, but each of them moved, turning toward the light. The second, the wooden one. Twisted from planks, wooden doll torsos, splinters. Half a dozen nails stuck in its back, shifting with every step. It had no mouth, instead, a black slit that sometimes crackled, friction. The third, the metal one, a frame of thin steel tubes. Its torso made of crumpled toolbox-like panels. The head, something like a toy bear's skull made of metal plates. Its eyes glowed with something resembling string lights, but from inside they flickered unevenly, nervously. They stood over a pile of materials and began to act. The fabric bear grabbed a wooden fragment and handed it to the metal one. It inspected it and pulled it toward itself, installing it in its shoulder. And I realized they were upgrading each other. The wooden one grabbed a child's doll arm and, without thinking, hammered it into the fabric bear's torso with nails. The bear twitched slightly, as if from pain, and stood straighter. The metal one slid a new leg toward the wooden bear, made from tubes and old keyboards. The wooden bear crouched, and together they began attaching the new limb, using nails and bolts pulled from the walls. This wasn't instinct, not mechanics. It was cooperation, organization, intelligence. And when the fabric bear turned its head toward me, I understood that it knew I was there. The fabric one began to hiss, not with a voice. Its chest fabric tightened and stitches tore, creating a sound similar to breathing. The metal one turned its glowing lamp eyes toward the darkness where I hid. The wooden one lifted its head, and a splinter flew from its mouth slit, as if it smiled crookedly. They slowly began moving forward, not rushing, not chaotically, like hunters confident their prey wouldn't escape. I ran. I managed to pass 2 halls when I crashed into something soft, the body of a person. A woman in her 40s with an exhausted face hid in the shadows. Her right arm was wooden, like those I had seen on the bears, but hers had carved symbols deep incomprehensible. She whispered, "You see them? That means they chose you too. Chose me for what?" "For material," she replied sadly. "But not only that, you're the one who can end the cycle. The Foundation once tried to shut down this object, but fled. They couldn't destroy them, only isolate them. Not for long." I blinked. "What Foundation?" "The Foundation of Special Isolation Research," she said. "They called this place object OI-241, self-assembling toy constructs. They thought they stopped the evolution of the material beasts. They were wrong." She pulled a crumpled document from under her coat. FOIR, Object OI-241, Threat Class, High, Adaptive, Description, Self-organized constructs made from any available materials, fabric, wood, metal, plastic, can merge into larger aggregates, cooperate, upgrade one another, demonstrate basic consciousness, ability to plan, and seek living beings in order to obtain high-quality material. Status: threat considered neutralized in 1997, likely incorrectly. The woman grabbed my arm and pulled me into the old mechanical workshop. "They gather around the first material," she explained, breathing heavily. "It's their core, the key to their existence. Where is it?" "You brought it yourself." She pointed to my pocket. "There lay a button, the same one I found on the floor. They deliberately placed it in your path," she whispered, "because they believe you will raise them again. They need a bearer." And at that moment, the metal bear burst into the workshop. Its eyes flickered in different colors. Its body screeched, bending in ways it shouldn't because the added parts didn't physically fit, but something was pulling them together. 2 more beasts entered after it. Before my eyes, the wooden bear began losing balance. One of its legs had cracked. The fabric one immediately slid a metal tube toward it. The wooden bear broke off its old leg and slammed the new one into its body, while the metal one tightened a bolt to the limit. It looked right, synchronized, as if they understood anatomy, and at the same time, incredibly disturbing. The flexibility of fabric, the cracking of wood, the cold of metal, and all of it in one body. We ran upward, but the beasts chased us. On the stairs appeared 2 more, one entirely woven of wires and cables, the other of plywood and plastic boxes. The woman pushed me to the roof. "But how do we stop them?" "Destroy the core. Destroy the button. Without it they'll return to inert materials." On the roof the wind was sharp and cold. Below us, an empty elevator shaft. The beasts slowly climbed up, forming a semicircle, and then they spoke. In one voice, crackling, creaking, scraping. "We are your creations. We are your future. The material must return to the master." I clenched the button in my fist. The woman whispered, "Throw it, and what will happen? Who knows? For the first time we have a chance." The bears moved forward, reaching toward me with hands, paws, mechanical fingers. I threw the button down. Everything fell silent. Then an explosion of silence. A rupture. A collapse. The bears' bodies began to break apart, fabric tearing, wood splintering, metal separating into individual plates. Their voices blended into one long, inhuman roar, then disappeared. The woman stood quietly. Her wooden arm cracked and fell to the floor. "Finally," she whispered. "The next morning I returned to the factory. No movement. Only piles of dead parts. I was about to leave when I saw a button on the concrete. Exactly the same. Dry. Intact. I bent down. It moved. That evening I received another letter. You delayed the rise, not stopped it. They always rebuild. Below was a seal. 3 black squares. The mark of the Foundation of Special Isolation Research. And the note, Object OI241 has reactivated. Await further instructions.